was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access.
The House chamber buzzed with undeniable intensity as Nicole Malliotakis and Lisa Milan rose to speak. Two leaders determined to defend the nation's core values and confront what they saw as years of moral drift. This was no ordinary debate. It was a reckoning long overdue. Ilhan Omar's potential removal from Congress wasn't about vengeance or partisan loyalty. It was about accountability, integrity, and respect for the American people. For too long, many had believed political status could shield them from consequence. That illusion ended today. Malliotakis and Milan's words carried the weight of millions demanding that America's dignity be upheld. The controversy dated back to Omar's remarks about September 11th, words that describe one of the darkest days in U.S. history as "some people did something." To families who lost loved ones and first responders who still live with the scars, those words were more than careless. They were a wound that never healed. Today's proceedings went beyond politics or position. They were about remembrance, justice, and a nation's unshakable promise. America will never forget, and its principles will never be compromised.
Colleagues, the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee, but I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views, but I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well.
When Nicole Malliotakis rose to speak, it wasn't as a politician but as a citizen defending her country. Her tone was firm, her conviction unwavering, as she detailed how Ilhan Omar, while serving on the influential Foreign Affairs Committee, had repeatedly questioned U.S. allies, challenged Israel's legitimacy, and drawn dangerous moral parallels between America and terrorist groups. Malliotakis reminded the chamber that Congress is not a stage for ideology, but a sacred trust for service. Her message cut through the noise. The American flag stands for sacrifice, freedom, and unity, not division, resentment, or blame. With each word, she brought clarity and purpose back to the floor, leaving lawmakers and viewers alike with the gravity of her warning that patriotism is not up for negotiation.
I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee. I've also heard the representative equate that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela, that is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America in Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable. And as a New York representative, to hear the representative belittle, to try to diminish.
Then Lisa Milan took the floor, known for her candor, courage, and deep patriotism, and her words struck like a lightning bolt. Her frustration wasn't only with Omar, but with the years of excuses and silence that had protected misconduct from scrutiny. Milan made one truth unmistakable. No apology can erase a record of anti-American rhetoric. True leadership means owning one's actions and standing by the Constitution without compromise. Her voice carried across the chamber like a call to conscience. Accountability, she declared, is not cruelty. It is the foundation of democracy. In that moment, her words sliced through political noise and moral fatigue, exposing a simple truth. Those who betray the nation they serve forfeit the privilege of representing it.
The worst terrorist attack on United States soil on September 11, 2001, as some people did something, that is unacceptable as well. And I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee because I thought that was inappropriate. So I'm being consistent here, and I hope my colleagues will do the same to show that this is about consistency and accountability.
The case against Ilhan Omar was laid bare, comprehensive, factual, and impossible to ignore. From the floor of Congress, Malliotakis presented a documented pattern of behavior that alarmed Americans nationwide. Omar had questioned America's moral standing, downplayed acts of terror, and disrespected allies, all while deflecting criticism as prejudice. That defense no longer stood. Each statement that clashed with the duty of her office was read into record, not as character attack, but as evidence. It painted a clear picture of a representative driven by personal agenda rather than public service. Together, Malliotakis and Milan turned the chamber into a courtroom of principle, reminding everyone that Congress is a place of duty, not self-interest. They spoke for those who stand when the anthem plays, and for families who still believe honor in leadership matters. Their message was thunderous. Serving in Congress is not a privilege. It is a responsibility. America will tolerate nothing less.
Because we should not have an individual with those views on the committee that is tasked with representing our country and our Congress to foreign nations. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it.
As the chamber prepared for vote, the air was thick with tension. Faces were solemn, the stakes unmistakable. And when the gavel finally fell, history was written. Ilhan Omar was removed. The decision wasn't symbolic. It was transformative. It proved that even in divided times, Congress could still act with courage and conscience. For the first time in years, unity emerged, not partisan, but patriotic. Applause broke out, not in celebration of defeat, but in defense of principle. Across the nation, citizens felt a spark of restored faith. On social media and in living rooms, people spoke of justice, dignity, and relief. Nicole, Malliotakis, and Lisa Milan became symbols of moral leadership, fearless, grounded, and unbending. Their stand reminded the public that truth still has defenders, and that integrity, when spoken with conviction, can change history.
I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable.
Though Omar's removal was a victory, Malliotakis and Milan knew it was only the beginning. They warned that others in Congress still echoed the same divisive rhetoric, voices that framed America as flawed, not free. Their message was clear. This isn't about punishing one person. It's about reclaiming the nation's moral compass. The mission ahead was to elect and empower leaders unashamed of patriotism, leaders who see the flag as a symbol of unity, not division. The movement extended beyond the Capitol to people themselves, awakening a shared belief that America's spirit can still be restored. The historic vote became more than an event. It became a milestone, proving that courage, conviction, and accountability remain powerful enough to reshape the nation's future.
It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy. So with that, I yield 2 minutes to my friend from New York, Nicole Malliotakis.
Gentlelady is recognized for 2 minutes.
The removal of Ilhan Omar from Congress sent more than just ripples through Washington. It sent shockwaves that echoed from the marble halls of the Capitol to the heart of every American household. For years, lawmakers had skirted the line between silence and complicity, choosing comfort over courage. But in that moment, they could no longer hide. The vote demanded a choice: either defend the ideals that define America, or stand by someone who had repeatedly tested their limits. As the chamber doors closed and the roll call began, the air inside Congress felt heavier than usual. Conversations hushed. Reporters stood ready. Every lawmaker knew that what was about to happen would not just be remembered for days or weeks, but for decades. Nicole Malliotakis and Lisa Mallon walked out of that chamber not as politicians chasing headlines, but as guardians of something far greater: principle, duty, and truth. Their resolve reminded America that the House of Representatives, despite its flaws, could still rise to meet the nation's moral expectations. Theirs was not a victory of party over party. It was a triumph of integrity over indifference. Across the nation, Americans reacted with a surge of emotion. Veterans, first responders, and ordinary citizens flooded social media with messages of gratitude. Flags waved outside homes and fire stations. For many, the vote felt deeply personal, a moment of long-awaited accountability. Families of 9/11 victims expressed a quiet sense of justice, recalling years of hurt stirred by Omar's controversial remarks. Finally, one firefighter's widow wrote, "Someone had the courage to defend what we lived through." Omar's defenders attempted to rewrite the narrative, framing her as the victim of political persecution. But to millions of Americans watching the speeches, hearing the voices, and seeing the raw conviction on the House floor, it was clear this was not about vengeance. It was about values. It was about responsibility. It was about respect. Behind closed doors, the toll was evident. Lisa Mallon later admitted that standing up to the political establishment was not easy, that it came with personal sacrifice and sleepless nights. But she believes some stands are too important to avoid. When your conscience is louder than your fear, she said, you have no choice but to act. For Malliotakis, a proud New Yorker who had lived through the pain and resilience of September 11th, the decision carried even deeper weight. Her words on the floor, steady, emotional, unflinching, captured the heartbreak and the hope of a city and a nation that had endured. "This isn't about partisanship," she said. "It's about patriotism. It's about decency. It's about remembering who we are." Each vote cast that day was more than a tally. It was a moral declaration. A yes was a stand for unity, for country, for the promise of America itself. A no was a retreat into fear and division. And as the final names were called, the country held its breath. When the result was read aloud, a new kind of silence fell over the chamber, one that felt cleansing, historic, and resolute. Outside, Americans from coast to coast felt the shift. In towns and cities, patriotic rallies broke out, not to celebrate the fall of one person, but to celebrate the rise of accountability. Flags unfurled, anthems played, and veterans spoke of honor restored. The movement that followed was not born of anger or exclusion. It was born of love, of unity, of a collective reminder that America's greatness depends not on perfection, but on the courage to correct its course. The media, as expected, tried to spin the event as partisan retribution. But Americans were not fooled. They had seen the footage, heard the debates, and felt the sincerity of the voices that stood up for principle. For once, truth was louder than the headlines. In time, historians will look back on that vote not as a clash of personalities, but as a turning point, a rebirth of accountability politics in an era when moral clarity had grown rare. It was a reminder that words matter, that respect is not optional, and that those entrusted with leadership bear the duty to honor the nation, not divide it. Nicole Malliotakis and Lisa Mallon didn't just cast votes that day. They rekindled something deep in the American spirit. They proved that leadership is not about being loud. It's about being right. It's not about power. It's about principle. And it's not about winning. It's about standing tall when the nation needs you most. Years from now, the removal of Ilhan Omar will stand as more than a historical footnote. It will be remembered as the moment Congress reclaimed its conscience. It marked a line between rhetoric and responsibility, between division and dignity. And through it all, two women reminded a weary nation that courage, conviction, and love of country are not relics of the past. They are the very heartbeat of the Republic.